Y'all get 200. I get 3. Unless you're Master Prestige. Well. I do hear the strangest things. You know the news y'all listen to, watch. Oh, we probably don't watch the news.
Drops originally posted in 12, 17 of 19. Drops 37, 16, and 17. They both say the exact same thing, so I'll just read 37, 17. The first indictment, that's the unsealing, will trigger a mass population awakening. First arrest will verify action and confirm. They will fight. Who are they? They are the satanic New World Order deep state cabal.
Ooh.
They will fight, but you are ready. And Q says this is marker, and we get 9 in the kill box, sign Q. Today I'm going to share who I think these indictments and arrests will be. I think it's going to be Hunter 1, that's Hunter Biden, James, that's Joe Biden's brother, James, and Joe himself. I think that those arrests will trigger a mass population awakening. The first arrest, I think it'll be Hunter, will verify action and confirm future direction. James, then China Joe, and then Hillary, and then Obama, and then George Soros, and then Adam Schiff, and then Nancy Pelosi. Another popular Q saying is to watch the water. Now consider double meanings. It could definitely mean watch the oceans, the waterways, the rivers, and the lakes. It could also mean watch one Jesse Waters. Now, I'm going to bring you this clip today of the latest from Jesse Waters, in which he says that the upcoming indictments and arrests of Hunter, James, and China Joe looking like it's going to go down soon and very soon.
The federal investigation into the president's son and the president's brother is heating up. Not only are sources telling primetime that the first son, Hunter Biden, is on the verge of being indicted.
You don't need a waffle maker, but yes you do. You need it right now. Oh, it's near you. It's in stock. Thanks, Google. Pick it out, pick it up, flip it over. You go.
Waffles. Really?
Gotta have it now. Get it near you. Shop with
YouTube
Google.
is just a piece of shit anymore. Ever since Google bought it, it's been going downhill worse and worse and ridiculous.
That the first son, Hunter Biden, is on the verge of being indicted. But it looks like the U.S. attorney in Delaware could be looking at President Joe Biden himself. Yesterday, during a grand jury testimony over Hunter's finances, a witness was asked to identify the big guy. This came after an email from Hunter's business partner, James Gillier, was put into the record. The email showed a breakdown of the China deal and who was going to get a piece of the pie, saying, quote, 10 held by H for the big guy. The big guy? Well, a bunch of emails on Hunter's laptop suggest the big guy was Joe Biden. And Hunter's former business partner, Tony Bobulinski, said it straight up.
As 10% for the big guy held by H. I 1,000% sit here and know that the big guy is referencing Joe Biden. That's crystal clear to me because I lived it. I met with the former vice president in person multiple times.
We know Hunter's business partners were told not to call Joe by name. They wanted to keep Joe's role private. Hunter's partner confirmed it when he texted Bobulinski, quote, don't mention Joe being involved. It's only when you are face to face. I know you know that, but they're paranoid. So instead, Joe went by the big guy to try to cover up his whole role in all of this. But the grand jury is asking questions that lead right to the Oval Office. Media's whole containment operation can't contain a grand jury, but the press is trying their best anyway.
Until you make someone makes a nexus between what Hunter Biden has done and official activities of Vice President Biden or President Biden, it's a not pretty picture, but it's not really of much public import in terms of the policy of the United States or the administration of the government. And so far, there is zero evidence that Vice President Biden or President Biden has done anything wrong in connection with what Hunter Biden's done.
What
It's an
a
important
lie.
distinction. I mean, there's a mountain of evidence, and it's all over, and everybody knows it.
Mountain.
It's being honest. The White House is doing everything it can to block the president's exposure, though, even if it means lying. Listen.
The president has said that he never spoke to his son about his overseas business dealings. Is that still the case?
Yes.
Oh, she's going to regret that answer. Are we supposed to believe that the guy with the biggest mouth in Washington never asked his son what he was going to do in China when they flew there on Air Force Two? On the way back, never asked, hey, Hunter, why'd you introduce me to those Chinese guys in Beijing? Biden never asked his son where the millions of dollars was coming from? Hey, Hunter, you're striking deals with Russia and Ukraine. Why are you going there? And why are you buying Porsches? Never said that? Of course he knew what Hunter was up to. That's been the family business model for decades. But obviously Joe's a liar. This is the same guy who said Hunter made no money in China.
My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China?
Oh, what are you talking about? The Times and the Post both confirmed that the Chinese paid Hunter and Jim Biden $5 million. Why would Biden lie about that? Well, we know why. Because Hunter was paying his father's bills. Has paid the Biden family bills for years. He is complaining to his own daughter, saying, quote, don't worry, unlike Pop Joe, I won't make you give me half your salary. Did China bankroll Hunter's ritzy 30 grand a month Malibu home with 6 bedrooms, a gym, even a spa? I mean, Hunter needs to relax. It's stressful when the feds are breathing down your neck. You've got to take a steam. Is the Malibu pad paid for with finger painting money?
Feds recovering for him.
Hunter had to take out $1 million loan to pay back taxes, so where's he getting rent money from? Is he using his $2 million advance from his book deals to pay bills? Weird how his memoir didn't contain any details about his business career. He just left that out. He can't be flush with royalties because his book bombed. Question isn't, where's Hunter anymore? Question is, where's Hunter's money? Today we found out that Joe Biden's own hatchet man and now Chief of Staff Ron Klain asked Hunter for money when Joe was VP, saying in an email to Hunter in 2012, quote, we need to keep this low key because raising money for the residents now is bad PR, but it has to be done. So I'm trying to just collect the 10 checks of $2,000, get it done in a week. 20 grand. How did Ron Klain know that Hunter was his dad's money man? And Hunter's business partner, Eric Sherwin, responded to Klain's email saying, well, discuss this and some other bills on Monday. Some other bills. We have emails from the laptop showing Hunter's business partners paid Biden's bills and that Hunter and Joe shared joint bank accounts. The media in the White House can't contain this much longer.
I agree with Jesse Waters. Neither the media nor the White House are going to be able to contain this story much longer. These folks are all going to be held accountable for their crime. You see, this is what Q always talked about, where sometimes you can't tell the people the truth. Sometimes you have to show them. Folks, you're being shown the truth. Here's something I posted in my Telegram account yesterday. It says, for those who do their own research, here are 9 new documents in the Durham case against Hillary's lawyer Sussman. Now we know why Sussman's attorneys conceded in the hearing last week that he lied to the FBI. It says it's going to be a long thread. I like these hashtags. But nothing's happening. So many people say nothing's happening. Folks, it is happening. Most of it behind the scenes, but it's starting to come to the surface. And hashtag Durham is coming. And then if you look at the link there, I said, the link ends with QQ. Just a fun coincidence. For a lot of people, don't have a full understanding of exactly everything going on here in the John Durham case. You know what broke and when and what's going to happen next. It's my opinion that John Solomon of Just the News, he does one of the best jobs taking something as complex as this entire situation and breaking it down into simple and easy to understand summary. So I'm going to bring you this summary from John Solomon now.
Guys, didn't y'all believe that all those puzzle ads were fake? And there's no such game. But today, I finally found the game.
Freaking trash.
The King's Return. That's right, guys.
That's
garbage.
the exact game you always see in
Really?
the chat. Yeah. I've seen enough of their videos today. I'm going to play it. To be honest, I'm going to use my brain.
Damn.
Oh.
Really?
Dan summary. So I'm going to bring
I hate YouTube.
John Sullivan now.
Overnight, around midnight last night,
Absolute
John Durham filed an explosive new court motion. And in that, he unveils a smoking gun text message. And, remember, he has charged one of Hillary Clinton's lawyers, Michael Sussman, with lying, saying he told the FBI falsely he was bringing Trump dirt as a good American citizen and not on behalf of any client. The Sussman campaign and the Democrats and their defenders and the media are saying, oh, this is nothing. He didn't do it. It's just a misunderstanding. Well, John Durham dropped into the court record last night a text message from Michael Sussman to the FBI general counsel saying, I'm not working on behalf of any conspiracy. There's no misunderstanding. It is written in stone. But that's not even the biggest news. What he then goes on to say in this court motion is, we are prepared to show that Hillary Clinton, her lawyers, her researchers, some tech executives, they formed a joint venture or a conspiracy to smear Donald Trump. It's the first time he's used the word conspiracy in connection with the Russia collusion case. It's now, for the first time, the chief prosecutor is saying Hillary Clinton engaged in a conspiracy to falsely accuse Donald Trump of collusion. That's what this filing says. It is a bombshell with tons of new information in it, the text message being the real smoking gun.
Not to speculate, by the way, let's get the article in Captain Ben. Let's put it on all of our platforms right now with the link to such yesterday. You've been all over this Durham situation. Where do you see this thing evolving?
Well, listen, there's two buckets, right? The first bucket is what was Hillary Clinton and her team doing, and for the first time today, he uses the conspiracy word. He uses the joint venture word. Multiple people working together to smear Donald Trump. He even goes on to say that one of the tech executives who was involved in this, a guy named Jaffe, that Jaffe was actually promised a job in connection with this passing on false information or, now disproven information about Donald Trump and a conspiracy and a secret computer channel to the Kremlin, which, by the way, never existed, right? So that's the first bucket. What did Hillary Clinton do to know it? We just had the federal mission last week find Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party saying you tried to disguise the payments for Christopher Steele. Now we have the prosecutors saying beyond disguising the payments and hiding the opposition research effort, they falsely told the FBI that this wasn't a Clinton thing. It was, and there were a bunch of Clinton forces all working together to hijack the election, to smear Donald Trump, and to handicap the beginning of his presidency. That's the first bucket. And there could be some more accountability there. When a prosecutor uses the word conspiracy, that's a big word. The second bucket is FBI agents allowing this case to be furthered and advanced and continue on for 2.5 years when all the evidence the FBI had showed that these allegations were false. They were from Hillary Clinton. They were Russian disinformation. Remember, before the end of 2016, the FBI had a spreadsheet that went through everything Christopher Steele's dossier said, and like 90% of it was either disproven, never proven, or considered to be internet rumor garbage. They knew their case was bogus, and they allowed it to go on until early 2019. So those are the two buckets. I think you're going to see more indictments in both buckets based on what I'm seeing right now before the grand jury.
Do you think this rolls up to people like Mark Elias? I understand he testified in front of the grand jury. Mark Elias and Hillary Clinton?
Well, that's the question. When you get to a scandal like this, right, you start with the mid-level people and you work your way up, just like if you were bringing a mob case. Listen, The Intercept suggests that John Ratcliffe made available in the summer 22 that Hillary Clinton personally approved this plan to smear Donald Trump with false allegations. That alone points at Hillary Clinton. Now, how do you prove that? Is a person lying on The Intercept? You have to roll up these witnesses. He just made his case against Michael Sussman a lot better with the revelation of this text message. What is Sussman now going to say? No, I didn't tell the FBI that. It's in writing. He has a real problem. And one of the things that Sussman does here is he points out that while Sussman wrote this to the FBI saying, I didn't have a client, he later told a congressional committee he did have a client. So he's either lying in either one of those cases. Not a good look for Michael Sussman and the outcome of his case. And now we just have to see how high up this knowledge went. I know people like Jake Sullivan were deeply involved in the spreading of these rumors, Christopher Steele. We'll have to see who rolls up on who. It's sort of the rats jumping off the sinking ship phenomenon now. Who will testify up against the upper hands that probably concocted and approved this plan?
Ooh. Ooh.
Welcome back. Special counsel John Durham released potentially damning evidence against former Hillary Clinton lawyer Michael Sussman. This week, Durham filed a motion to admit a 2016 text message from Sussman to the FBI General Counsel James Baker. In the message, Sussman is planning a meeting to discuss purported links between the Trump Organization and Russia, just 2 months before the 2016 election. Here's the text. Sussman writes to Baker, "I'm coming on my own, not on behalf of a client or a company. Want to help the Bureau." Durham calling the text, quote, "a lie in writing." Sussman is set to go on trial next month over accusations he lied to the FBI. James Freeman and I wrote all about this in our book published last year called The Cost, Trump, China, and American Revival. James Freeman, your thoughts on now Durham pushing this text message into the conversation, which has got Michael Sussman pretty much lying that he is not, or apparently reportedly lying that he is not representing the Clinton campaign when he...
Now, the threats that the cabal poses are very, very real. Make no mistake about it. Like I had indicated at the beginning, the analysis when it comes to Taiwan is far more complex.
There we go.
Because of their, their relationship, I guess you could say China's relationship with Trump. I should say maybe CCP's relationship with Trump, because the CCP's relationship with Trump is not necessarily the same Trump's relationship with Xi Jinping. Okay, that's a very important point right there. But Trump, while he was in office, he really positioned the United States into a war footing with the CCP. Patel Patriot is actually, I forgot which one of his articles on devolution did a brilliant job outlining all of this. So it's all there for folks to see. You do your own research. But there's no doubt that Trump did this. And now whether they currently, they meaning the CCP, currently present a clear and present danger to our national security, well, I guess that there are debates upon that. Now, I think most of us would probably say yes. Because, we've heard all of these reports, but what appears to be some sort of a Mexican standoff going on, with the CCP threatening the United States with shipping container nukes off the coast, and the alliance countering that by using DARPA, what are they called? The DARPA-developed water agitator weapons. That's what it is, water agitator weapons. They're doing that to threaten the construction or the integrity of the Three Gorges Dam. Of course, explains all of the cracks, all of the reported, dilapidated parts of the Three Gorges Dam. It looks like it's being held up with duct tape because DARPA is holding this over the CCP's head. So, while Trump and his administration have made it clear that the CCP is an enemy, it remains unclear for many people whether President Xi is actually part of the alliance. However, in my analysis, he is working behind the scenes with Trump. I believe he's been doing this all along. Set the stage for the downfall, really, of the CCP. Attack and to destroy the cancer within his own country, just as Putin did in Ukraine. If Xi is a good guy and he's playing a role, this raises a lot of questions, and I understand that, and that's in large part what I'm going to talk about today. Because he has, for a very long time, really been the face of the CCP. The Winnie the Pooh character. So if President Xi is working with the alliance, then it begs the question of why President of China, President of the CCP, a verifiable enemy, really of, I was going to say the United States, but really of all of humanity, why would the president defect? Why would that Chinese president be part of this alliance? There are a number of possible explanations. One being that, in even the most corrupt organizations like the CCP, that good guys do exist. Perhaps they were infiltrators there for many, many years. Perhaps they were, shall we say, persuaded by the alliance to see the light, much like Saudi Arabia and the Vatican. Trump showed up in person and handed them individual copies of their greatest hits. So that's a possibility. But obviously, we don't know right now, and perhaps history, in this case again, is going to reveal the truthful answer to that question. But there's definitely quite a bit of interesting evidence, albeit circumstantial, I suppose, in many cases. Consider Xi Jinping as a White Hat. Now, we know the truth of the matter is that the CCP has really been a central pillar of the cabal really since 1949, since CCP took over. While the cabal was still in control, I would argue, saw very little criticism of China and the CCP coming out of the mainstream media. In fact, despite the CCP's long history of human rights abuses, to put it mildly, the Western media has remained largely silent for multiple different reasons. And I think two chief reasons, two of the most important reasons, because they profited from these crimes, the CCP is a massive source of illegal revenue. Heard about all the evil that goes on beneath the Three Gorges Dam. So that's one reason. Not only that, they also depend on Chinese manufacturing to fuel the U.S. consumer-based economy, which maintained U.S. dollar supremacy as the world's reserve currency. So they needed CCP, and they needed the Chinese to be happy, to keep the Chinese happy in order to keep this engine running, so to speak. You didn't really hear the mainstream media. For the most part, they've been silent on China, at least while the cabal was still in control. Very interesting. But ever since fake Biden, well, really, I should say even before that, ever since Trump took office, but especially now, even more so, that fake Biden has taken the residency of the White House, hearing a very different tune being played by the mainstream media all of a sudden. They've dramatically ramped up their attacks on President Xi in China. They've become increasingly protective of Taiwan. I wonder why that is. Again, it's in Taiwan. Why do they not want any military action in Taiwan? What are they trying to protect? What are they trying to hide? See, for me, folks, the usefulness, everybody knows how much I hate the mainstream media, but the usefulness of the mainstream media is in interpreting what's going on behind the scenes geopolitically based upon where they're leveraging their attacks. You got these rag publications like the New York Times or The Economist, Time Magazine, all of these major MSM publications openly attacking President Xi, accusing him of eroding trust of Chinese and foreign entrepreneurs. This is all in response to his harsh stance on corruption, which began, by the way, in 2012. Reportedly really ratcheted up Trump was in office his first term. We've got reports of hundreds of thousands of people in China who were indicted for corruption. Our media largely ignores this for obvious reasons. But we're talking about hundreds of, China, obviously there's a lot of people in China. And when you say hundreds of thousands in China, may not have the same sort of impact, but that's a lot of people, folks. Hundreds of thousands of people were arrested in China under President Xi for corruption. Right now, tyrant can call justice, or it can call, anything corruption. I understand that. You have to consider the facts and consider where he leveraged his attacks, and I'm going to talk about that. But this is very reminiscent of Vladimir Putin's successful endeavor to root out corruption in Russia, targeting all of the oligarchs back in the 90s who were pillaging Russia when it was on its knees. President Xi did the same thing in China. A lot of this has gone on really under the radar. Throughout this process, he has put in, throughout the entire country of China, something upward of 90% of the government are loyal to President Xi. So we better hope that President Xi is a white hat, because he has been rooting out, I believe, all of this corruption within his own country. Now, I've stated many times before that the CCP had to go in order to rid evil from the world. I've also pointed out that in every group, there has to be good elements. There always are. We might not be in lockstep agreement in our ideology. You know, we don't want to watch the world burn, and we don't want to bring about the enslavement and the extinction of humanity, so we seek to put aside our differences for the greater good. To tell you the truth, folks, that's my estimation, more or less, of what happened with President Xi. Because while all of us have a past, it doesn't necessarily define our future. If we're shown a better way, and we end up committing to implementing that better way. With that in mind, I think it also makes sense to remind ourselves that this plan has been in the works now for decades, folks. Really, 2012 isn't that far removed from current geopolitical events. I think it's quite possible that China began the process of taking down the worst elements of the CCP back in 2012. By the time they were done, moving on Taiwan, basically going to be performing the same way that Vladimir Putin is in Russia, a mop-up operation, so to speak. Similar step. Ironically, while our media will never tell us the truth about any of this, we've come to discover the truth by inverting their lies. That's what's so great about the mainstream media. I mean, as much as I hate them, just so blatantly obvious. You just invert what they say. You may not get exact truth, but you're going to get pretty darn close. You're going to be over the target. You know, you see George Soros come out, say that, China is the most dangerous opponent of those who believe in an open society, and we know what he means by an open society. You got the Rothschilds rag that I just mentioned a moment ago, The Economist.
No more USA.
Out with a cover story that tells us to beware of the cult of President Xi. To me, I mean, that tells me all I need to know. Judge a man by his enemies. President Xi is looking better and better as time goes on, I gotta tell you. And at the same time, when at one point, the same cabal hailed the tyranny of the CCP as the model for the world and the great leap forward. Remember with Mao Zedong? Now we're seeing a complete realignment in the establishment ever since Trump took power. Of course, we all know Trump is still in power. All the articles coming out are in defense of Taiwan against an aggressor. In fact, more specifically, the mainstream media has been really frantically, publishing articles on a daily basis which reveal one of the main reasons that the narrative has changed. Invasion of Taiwan would disrupt the production, the supply chain of semiconductor chips, which are required, essentially, in all modern technological appliances and devices. And wouldn't you know it, Taiwan is the #1 producer, by far, of these semiconductor chips in the world, which makes this island nation absolutely vital, continuing big tech revenue stream.
Nice.
We all know which side big tech is on, don't we, folks? No secret there. Maybe the real reason Trump was invited to dine in the Forbidden City, remember that? First head of state ever. It was kind of a big deal, wasn't it? What does that tell you? The real reason he was invited was the same reason he was given the honor of holding the sword in that famous ceremony in Saudi Arabia. And maybe, you know, who knows, folks? I mean, whether Xi was good or bad, perhaps he was made an offer that he couldn't refuse that would ultimately lead to a stronger China.
Oi. No, don't hit me. Really?
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson. Tonight, when you think of American states that have fallen right off the ledge into the deep end of vacuous lifestyle liberalism, and we do think of that from time to time, you probably think of Vermont. Vermont's a place that banned fracking despite the fact it has not a single oil or gas well in the state. Or maybe you think of Massachusetts, where virtually all human pleasure has been banned for decades, if not centuries. And of course, you think of California. California, a place where one city is now paying people to be transgender. All of these are famously liberal places, so you're not surprised. But Utah is not a liberal place. When you think of Utah, you imagine big, happy families, an even bigger salty lake, and a couple of very good ski mountains. You think conservatism because Utah is conservative. It always has been.